I think it's 5 o'clock on the dot, so I'm going to invite Principal Dave Sunday to come up.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome, and welcome back if you were here earlier today for our noon session. My name is Dave Sunday. I'm proud to serve as the principal here at Puyallup High School. Just completed year 9 here at the school, and so got to know many of you that are here tonight and many community members around the school area here, and got to know the community quite a bit. So we've seen lots of changes and lots of great things, and I think some things that have caused challenges for people as well. But something I have learned about this community is we figure out ways to work together and get through these challenges. So I'm looking forward to the conversation and know that we'll figure out a way that we can make this work. So we're here to discuss the district project of installation of 6 new portable classrooms, which is really 3 self-contained buildings, and then the associated pilot road closure of 7th Street Southwest, and talk about the impacts to the neighborhood community and the school community, but maintaining a focus on the root reason for doing this is the safety of our students. And if you've been around the school during the school day, you see what it looks like when kids are arriving at school, or pretty much every 55 minutes when that bell rings and it's time for kids to go to class. If they have to cross that street, we've got 200, 300, 400 students crossing the street. Sometimes cars coming through and teenage drivers, and lots of things that are putting our kids at risk. And so that's really at the heart of the decision to go forward with this pilot program. And we want to welcome you tonight to share your thoughts, ideas, concerns, in hopes that we can get to a place where we feel good about the plan moving forward. So tonight's conversation is going to be facilitated by our facilities crew, and I think they're going to go around and introduce themselves, but I'll start by introducing Brian Devereaux.
Thanks, Dave. I see a few repeat faces here, so the first session must have been okay. That's all my stand-up today. I will be leading the first part of the meeting. Again, my name is Brian Devereaux, Director of Facilities Planning for Puyallup Schools. I've lived in Puyallup since 2000 and have worked for the district since 2008. My wife teaches here at the high school. I have 2 boys that currently attend Puyallup High School. They'll be juniors this year. And I have 1 older son that also graduated from Puyallup and another that went to EUR. So I'm very tied into the community, and really want to, again, express our gratitude for being here tonight on a lovely Thursday afternoon. Beautiful weather. Means a lot that you made the time to be here. Before we get started, I'm going to give a chance for our other administrators and our consultant team that was able to make it here tonight to introduce themselves.
Hello, thank you for all for taking the time to come here tonight. I'm Brady Martin. I'm the Director of Capital Projects for the school district. I've lived here in the community since 1999. I've worked for the district since 2016, and I also have 2 boys in the district, 1 in elementary in 6th grade, and then I have an 8th grader in England as well. So I'm passionate about the community, involved in the community, and it's important for all of us to come together, like Dave said, work together, because we always come up with a solution when we get together and talk about these things. So I do appreciate everybody being here. So I'm going to let Marty talk about himself.
Hi everyone, I am Marty Heffron. I'm the principal of Heffron Transportation. It's a firm that specializes in traffic and parking. I have been doing this for almost 40 years, and I've been representing the Puyallup School District for about 20 years.
I'm Larry Danberg. I'm an Assistant Director of Construction Management and Project Manager for this project.
Hi, I'm Debbie Howard. I'm the Executive Assistant for the Puyallup School District.
I'm not the capital team, but anyway. My name's John Paul, I'm the superintendent here in Puyallup School District. Thank you for being here this evening and being part of this process. Certainly in this wonderful facility that's been here for a long time. And I also want to mention I am also a member of the community. I've got several grandchildren who are attending Puyallup schools, and so definitely have interest and stake in how we do things, and really interested in your feedback and input today. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Hi, I'm Justin Jones with J&J Team. We're a civil engineering company based out of Sumner and do a lot of different projects in the Puyallup community and working with Brady and his team.
Thank you.
All right, we just want to make sure that those that see new faces know who here from the district, who we are and what we represent. So thanks for reporting us that. So the way that we want to move forward with this meeting is I have about a 15-minute presentation. Everyone loves a PowerPoint, right? But it's important to get some basic information out and then open that up for an opportunity for some question and answer. And so we'll definitely have quite a bit of time if we're on schedule. Just so you know, Mike, everyone wave to Mike. He's actually recording the event tonight. We also recorded the 1 p.m. session, and we'll have one or the other, I'm not sure, one or both will be posted online so that those that weren't able to make it here tonight are able to see the event. Because I did this twice, I want to make sure we scripted the presentation so I was consistent with that. So I will go ahead and get started by introducing the school, which is been here for more than 100 years. Dave corrected me, and I guess Puyallup High School's been around for nearly 130 years, which is awesome history. The campus sits on 14 acres, which is significantly smaller than the 40-acre campus at Rogers High School and our 55-acre campus at Emerald Ridge High School. Enrollment last October was reported at 1,623 students. Now that includes all of our students, but not our full-time Running Start students. If you throw in our full-time Running Start that typically are on campus, that number would be a little bit higher. And we're expecting to have this coming year about 1,700 students with a larger sophomore class coming in. Actually, let me go back real quick and point out that after the closure of the library science building, Puyallup High School retains a student capacity of 1,262 students in our permanent facilities. And that's according to the level of service standards that we have in our capital facilities plan. After we add the proposed portable classroom buildings that was mentioned by Dave, our total portable classroom count will be at 19 and the total campus will be able to house up to 1,735 students. However, it's important to recognize that even with the portable addition, the district's school capacity and utilization task force noted in the report that the current building and site improvements do not meet program needs for class space, athletics, or core facilities. In order to address these capital facility needs and others, a bond advisory committee has been commissioned by our board of directors. We'll share more information at the end of the presentation about this work. So looking at this aerial view, you'll see the red outlines indicate the assemblage of acreage that makes up the Puyallup High School campus. The main area of campus sits between 6th Street and 7th Street and is separated from other parts of campus that require pedestrian travel across the roads before, during, and after school. On-street parking is controlled and enforced by the city. The slide showing the street parking zones near campus was based on observations taken last year. The district has worked with the city to modify certain zones fronting school property over the years. The school has increased its on-site parking over the years. The most recent parking addition was the purchase of parking lot E, shown as orange on the campus parking map, adding 55 existing parking stalls together with a half acre of vacant property directly across from the school's main building entrance on 7th. That could be improved and add additional parking capacity as part of a future bond project. Currently, the school offers 433 existing on-site parking stalls and 788 designated parking stalls. So this slide and the last slide are both one of our featured maps that you can see here on the right-hand side if you want to take a closer look after the presentation. So how did we get to today? After the closure of the library science building last summer, the district applied for a conditional use permit with the city of Puyallup in October to demolish the library science building and add 3 portable buildings, each including 2 classrooms, to help mitigate the loss of space from the Ellis building closure. The city deemed the CUP application complete in November, which began the city review process of the submitted materials. Over the course of the permit review, it was noted that the new portables would increase pedestrian crossings across 7th Street Northwest and West Main. Consideration regarding pedestrian safety mitigation and ultimately a road closure pilot period was discussed and agreed to by district and city staff. The required public hearing for the CUP was held on July 16th of this year. The hearing examiner issued a written approval of the CUP with conditions on July 30th. This map shows the location of the library science building indicated by a large red X, and the land parcel where the portable buildings will be added is highlighted in light blue, west of 7th Street Northwest. This plan drawing shows in greater detail the layout and where the new portables buildings will be placed. So condition number 2 of the city CUP approval reads, the project shall implement the proposed street closure between the portable site and the main campus to ensure student safety. If after the temporary street closure period, the closure proves to be infeasible, an alternative proposal to install traffic calming measures and enhanced pedestrian safety facilities along West Main and 7th Street Northwest will be proposed by the applicant, reviewed and approved by the city, and installed at the applicant's expense. There are 2 driving factors why the district feels a road closure is needed. The first, to enhance the student safety and reduce the risk of accidents as a result of increased pedestrian traffic between the main campus and the portable classrooms. And the second, to provide a more cohesive, secure campus. The following time-lapse video taken by our traffic consultant, Heffron Transportation, demonstrates the need for such consideration. The video was taken during a typical morning arrival this past January. The view is looking south on 7th Street Northwest, towards the gym on the left and the existing portables on the right. In it, you will see students crossing 7th at various points while vehicles try to navigate through these pedestrian movements. And we're not going to watch the entire clip, but again, this was taken in January. This is an AM drop-off, so you can see that it's still kind of twilight. The cars have their headlights on, and we're still kind of in the early stages of students arriving to school.
Now, of course, when you play it in fast motion like this, it looks a little more dangerous than the actual scenario.
But they're also jaywalking. I don't see anybody down on the corner using the crosswalk.
Yeah, a lot of the students are crossing at the intersection, although in a diagonal manner.
I can't say I haven't done that a million times.
And you're a mom.
This video is representative of what you'll see during 5 passing periods during the school day and during school dismissal. So this is not a one-time event. Each school day, this is occurring multiple times throughout the day. The traffic patterns will look a little bit different for passing periods. We're seeing a lot of kids walking to and from the parking lot here. But again, the impact of having to relocate students that have been housed in our library science building and providing the space for the lost space over at the new location is going to create more pedestrian movements across Southern. And I think we've probably seen enough of that. If it'll let me. There we go. So during the CUP permit review, the city and district staff explored a host of traffic safety measures. Some of the alternatives identified included the installation of various traffic calming measures, including but not limited to installing speed bumps, road narrowing near crosswalks and intersections to reduce the distance pedestrians need to travel across the road, speed cameras, installation of rectangular rapid flashing beacons, installation of traffic control signaling, and closing the road during school hours only. Ultimately, a road closure pilot period was proposed to enhance student safety and provide a more cohesive, secure campus. So what is the road closure pilot period? It is a one-year pilot during the 2024-25 school year. During the pilot period, the district will coordinate with the city of Puyallup to collect and analyze before and after closure traffic data within the first 6 months from the start of the pilot period. The city of Puyallup will determine, following the pilot period, if it will consider a permanent closure. It should be noted that a permanent road closure would require the district to go through a street vacation process and must be approved by the city. The road closure is for non-emergency vehicles only. Non-motorized traffic will be allowed access during the pilot period. This next slide includes photos of the 3 street closure locations. So on the left-hand side, we're looking north at West Main and 7th Street, just outside our doors here to the right. In the middle, we're looking at 2nd Avenue Northwest, looking east, and the street running perpendicular to 7th Street Northwest. And on the right-hand side, we're looking at south at 3rd Avenue Northwest and 7th Street Northwest. So these would be the areas where there would be a gate installed that again would allow emergency vehicles to be able to access the site as needed, but would have the road closed for other vehicle traffic. So a proposed traffic plan for the upcoming school year has been proposed by the district and coordinated with the city. The traffic plan is similar to the traffic plan from last year with 2 exceptions. The closure of the 7th Street Northwest and a small section of West Main as conditioned in the CUP approval. And the other is extending the drop-off to the north side of West Main, east of 8th Street, along the district's property frontage. From this zone, students will be able to cross West Main or 7th Street Northwest safely in the closed road section. We encourage feedback from the community regarding this proposed traffic plan. The plan can be adapted as needed as long as it meets the approved conditions by the city. And looking forward, the district is planning to install temporary emergency gates that will allow emergency vehicles to access the campus as needed. We will be communicating the updated traffic plan as we approach the first day of school and begin the pilot period. And later this school year, we will be collecting additional traffic data and coordinating with the city to assess to assess road closure pilot period next summer. I am going to ask Brady to talk a little bit, just a minute here about the bond advisory committee. This is really important, and I know that those that are in this room have an interest in what's going on here at the high school and in the neighborhood. The bond advisory committee is looking at projects that will include work at Puyallup High School that would have a significant difference, not only at the campus, but around the campus as well. So if you're interested in that kind of work, please be, and I kind of stole your thunder there.
Kind of stole the thunder, it's all right. So as you're here tonight and you're involved, and we're sharing ideas, we invite you to apply and be part of our bond advisory committee as a community member. The application deadline is August 23rd. You can see the link is here. You can go to the website and apply for that under community involvement. We'd love to have you on our bond advisory committee as we plan for a future measure in the future. We'll be looking at all three regions in the district, all the way out to the Sunrise area, in Orange High School, in Region 1, Region 2, Rogers High School, and Puyallup High School here that feeds stretches all the way up to Edgewood area. So we'll be looking at schools across the district that are in our Citizens Facility Advisory Committee work that was done in 2021. It's our long-range plan that you can find on our website as well, that looks at that highlights the projects that are most critical. And then to piggyback onto that, Brian and I finished up a board and went to the board for approval of the work of the School Capacity Utilization Task Force, which took place last year. We had 14 meetings, and that was to look at our housing needs of students and where we have growth in the district, so we could put together an interim plan of how we're going to house all these students as the homes continue to get built and we have growth in our communities. So we'll be looking at that information that's put together in those recommendations. So I do invite you to participate on that. I was going to point out that these right now are the tentative meeting dates. So starting September 12th will be the first meeting. These meetings would typically be held in the evening for roughly 2 hours. We conclude in November with a recommendation that we would then take to our school board for consideration. So it could go be put on the future ballot measure. Next slide. So another way to stay informed on what's going on in the district, I'm really proud of the work that the department has done. We've got a page, Foundations for the Future. You can scan here, we're on social media, and we're also on our website, has all the information that our task force has done, and we update on the projects that we're doing. I also want to thank you all for the support in February of passing the capital levy for our life cycle improvement projects. So those are underway, and we're highlighting those projects as they get completed. So this information is there and available to you. So I encourage you to follow that and share with others. So that's it. So pass it back to Brian.
All right, and before I hand it over for some Q&A, I'm going to ask Marnie Heffron again, our transportation consultant, to see if there was anything she wants to point out that I may have missed or overlooked in the presentation.
Sure. So from a transportation standpoint, and we know that there are always things that could do better around a high school, our charge was to figure out what was necessary for this specific project, which is putting portables in place that will replace the lost capacity for the building that has to be demolished. What we found is we actually reduced the student capacity that was in that old building with these new portables. So we don't anticipate that traffic will increase because of these new portables. We won't change where kids can park, except for a very few parking spaces that will be removed from 7th Street. There's very little change of where people will park, which direction students will walk in. They'll be able to walk along the closed section of street. They'll be able to bike along the closed section of street. So the primary impact of this project is the street closure and how will traffic patterns diverge. So we had quite a bit of data that we had collected in January in association with that video. he just showed you part of the video. We have 12 hours of video showing the crossings. But we also had tubes that went down on several streets. We were recording speed and volume, and we have 3 days of data. We know how it changes by time of day. We know how fast people were going. And we had cameras posted at intersections that were collecting very specific vehicle and pedestrian counts at all the intersections. I think we counted 13 intersections in the vicinity of this school. And that tells us how vehicles are turning, where they're coming from, where they're going back to. And so our analysis, looking at what we thought was the traffic that's going to be displaced. Some of it is school pickup and drop off that occurs on that section, and that we hope will go down to this new pickup drop off zone that will be on Main Street. But we know that pickup and drop off occurs on all sorts of areas, within parking lots, over on 6th Street, on all sides of the school. Then there'll be the through traffic that's displaced, or the neighborhood traffic that's displaced. And so we did an attempt to look at what we thought would be the worst case if that displacement occurred in a concentrated way, meaning they just move one street over. In reality, they're going to disperse to many different routes. They may make a choice of a different travel pattern at River Road, not just after they cross the tracks. So this pilot project and what we worked out with the city is we're making our best guess of what the impact will be, but then we'll go back and we'll study it, and we will figure out if there's real changes in travel patterns that might require something like a new traffic signal or some speed humps or other things, and we can triage as we go. We're hoping to be able to do that post-opening study probably in October. We don't want to be out there studying right after school starts or during the fair. So hopefully we can start getting data pretty quickly. There were a lot of good ideas that we heard today about parking and parking enforcement and maybe better marking so we can have no parking zones. So as you comment today, those are the types of things we're looking for so that we can come up with simple triage projects. Now, this bond measure that could go onto a future ballot measure, if Puyallup High School becomes part of that, then we can start thinking bigger about other types of improvements, ways to improve the neighborhood. So those ideas too might go into the bin and start being incorporated if we get to do some long-term planning on this site.
Thank you, Marty. Appreciate it. So now we'll open it up. So, Mitzi.
Hi there. Thank you for that clarification, Marty. I know I was here at noon asking additional questions. I just make myself comfortable up here. I'm a neighbor in the community. I live at 809 West Main. And my 22-year-old son isn't here, but he was earlier. And so the paramount thing here is safety of students. And the discussion points, I think, as a neighborhood are what's happening currently, right? And what is happening currently. I took some notes, Marty, with what you said. Traffic won't increase. We don't anticipate, they'll change where parking happens. The primary impact is the closure. That was what was looked at, and how will traffic divert. And you said earlier, it's really your best assumptions and guesses as where it will go, but it will be going out throughout the neighborhood where, the traffic patterns are. And could you go to the map of the overview map? Sorry, I'm gonna reference that. So, you're talking about where things will be displaced if 7th Street traffic will be displaced, and where it will be going. And so, right, like it's going here now. And the thought is, correct me if I'm wrong, traffic will be coming in here and out this way and up out of the neighborhood. Is that about right? I mean, in the traffic study that was done, that was just the assumption.
Yeah, we concentrated what we thought would come off of 7th. We were looking at if that all were to use a single route, would it break that other route?
Right, like what would the impact be? So I want to ask, what's the level of service currently at this intersection? It's kind of here in 7th Avenue.
So I have to explain level of service so level of service is like grading in school. We grade traffic from A to F. A is excellent, D is barely passing, and F is failure. That intersection is a non-signalized intersection. It has a pedestrian crossing that's on one side of the intersection. And so it's pretty hard to turn from 7th Street onto Pioneer right now. It is a level of service F in the
So it's
afternoon.
failing.
It is failing today. That is
failing.
correct.
Thank you. So, I mean, I went home after the first meeting and I really dug into the traffic study after, you know, hearing the discussions. And I understand what they're doing is they're getting a permit, conditional use permit, to put in the portables. And part of that is, hey, let's close the street because we've got a lot of issues out here. It's one of the most cost-efficient ways to handle the problem. And the school district, I think, would have to pay for some of the, you know, some of the mitigation measures for traffic calming and whatnot. So, you know, my point is, you're looking at that area, we've got several streets there at level C, which is not a very good student, right? I mean, I'm struggling, to F, meaning we currently have a problem. And the reason I point this out, and this map isn't big enough, but I'll go over here. This map really shows, I asked for a half-mile radius around this school. And really, anyone that's been out here or lives here, neighbors, raise your hand. I mean, who's my, hi neighbors, thanks for coming. We're a good community, and we see what happens. The students park on the street 15 to 40 minutes in advance all throughout the neighborhood. And then they dash. And there are no sidewalks on multiple streets. There are no crossings on multiple streets. So if we're really worried about safety, I'm just imploring you to think, why aren't we looking at this? I know it's budgets, I know the school, you've got the bond, I get it. But what you're proposing here is very dangerous for the students, for the residents. It's a high traffic pedestrian neighborhood as well. And even right now, trying to make a turn onto Pioneer, it's bonkers. And the student drop off and pickup is, this makes no sense because they're by this time of day, I live right there. Jason, we can see this, I work from home. I see what happens. People are parked all along, there's nowhere for safe pickup and drop off either. So it's come together really fast. The portables, there's no foundations poured. They're not gonna be out there probably till next summer. So my proposal is, let's really look at how we can work on this together as a community and help inform. And then the last thing I'll say, because I know there's neighbors that wanna talk, and I'm talking a lot. I had a few thoughts. I went through, like, my fun Friday night was reading the conditional use permit and all the associated documentation, right? And I thought, when did I ever get notified of this in November 11/29/23? So there was a mailing list for the conditional use permit application, and I never got it. And the city actually lists who gets that on the website, and it was Emmanuel Lutheran Church and a bunch of schools, like POs. So the neighbors didn't get notified. And I keep asking what's the project area, but I was really confused about that. So I went and I looked at the hearing examiner meeting that was, what was it, July 16th of 24. And that went out, I did get that. That went out, and there was a different list of who got that notice. So I think it should have matched. So I'm just making the argument that we haven't had a proper time for notification and to be able to join as a community and work with the school district, the police department, the city to come up with a solution that's safe, that works for the community. And then I've always been in public service until my last job, so I always look at, like, okay, the details, and then there are more conditions on the conditional use permit, more than what we saw up there. And one of those conditions is, and I have it on my phone, but essentially it says that 14 days before this hearing, you need to notify people. And we got the door knockers, the door advertisements on the 8th, 7th, 8th, or 9th. And that's not the appropriate time to, that's in violation of the conditional use permit. So I'd ask the city, does that mean like revocation? What happens when you fail to meet a permit condition? So those are like the bureaucratic, like, where did the process go wrong? I wanted to see why wasn't I included in this? And then Jason, do you want to talk about the public hearing meeting? The recording, or the online?
Well, I would like to speak directly to the council, because I don't think anybody here facilitated or moderated the hearing today.
Planning, yeah, I think it was hearing examiner.
I can, talk with them later. Brian, you've been here for 8 years?
I've been with the district since 2008, so.
2008?
Yeah, okay.
And Dave, you've been here 9 years? Just got here yesterday. In those years, I've been here 17 years. Have you guys witnessed or seen any accidents out here with the kids on the streets during school hours?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm Michelle Reed. I'm one of the campus security officers here at PHS.
Oh, okay.
This is my 4th year here at Puyallup. So as far, are you talking just like fender benders?
I'm talking fender benders, yeah, sure, but more like that actually involve the kids.
I mean,
Like,
I've
has anybody been hit while they were crossing the street?
last year we had 2 female students get hit while actually walking in a crosswalk, despite what you see. Some of them do use the crosswalks. We had 2 female students struck while crossing the crosswalk last school year. They were up at the edge of the softball field, so right on the side of 7th and 3rd.
So outside the gate, where the gate's going?
Or by the railroad track?
Yes, technically right on the edge of where the one gate would be.
So
Yes.
by the train track, so you wanna send traffic, divert traffic that way.
So, but Brian, you
Come over the
said,
tracks.
emergency vehicles would be allowed access to their.
Correct. Yes.
So how do they manage, who is it, plastic barriers or not?
There'll be gates that are installed that the fire department has access to. Brady, do you want to give me more detail on the gates that will be installed, or?
The gates are right here, that's what we're gonna be installing. So
Use
these,
the mic for the recording.
he's got the microphone. Justin talked about too, but these gates are temporary, in nature, so, they're cinder blocks that are going on, or you call it 2 blocks that are going on each side with the 2 gates that are swing gates. The fire department, reviewed this and looked into this and told us and helped outline along with the city as to what these need to look like and what reflectors need to be on them. They need to have a Knox box so the fire department can come and open them, in case of an emergency. So this is what those will look like.
I read something about the turnaround and I didn't understand that from the conditional use permit. The fire truck turnaround, where is that on that big map? Thank you, Brian.
East
Right
end
there, yeah.
of 2nd Avenue.
And so they need a turnaround there, even though they can get through. I was confused about that, like, they'll be able to get through.
I can speak to that a little bit. Yeah, great question. So there's, in the interim condition, they want the ability to be able to do a 3-point turn. So the gates to the student parking lots will be locked open with locks that only the fire department has, so it stays open, so they can make a 3-point turn. To your point, there's also a gate there that they can open and drive straight through. So it really gives them 2 options of a way to get through.
Do we know if they're going to keep going that way? Like, how long does it take to get through the gates? Because that's a heavily traveled,
Well, that's
like
all I
every
wonder,
night.
does the fire department have to get out every time, unlock the gate, unlock the second gate?
If they were to drive through, they would have to unlock the gates. There has been coordination with the city and the fire departments, and they've looked at this from an emergency standpoint and have been in acceptance of this and looking at other routes. We'd have to get more information from the city on that, but they did look at that.
Because, not during the day, well, actually during the day too, but especially at night, I've seen many police chases through these 2 buildings on West Main that are closed, through the grass, always fun to watch at 2 in the morning. And also the fire department and ambulance, they come through here night, many times, 3-4 times a night. So I can't imagine them getting out, unlocking 2 gates to get through to their emergency.
So they would only go through those gates if they needed to get to that specific area. They're gonna be
Otherwise
taking,
they're gonna be.
they're gonna take other routes around is what they're, I'm assuming they're going to do.
But we don't know when they're gonna go
Well, it just would depend where the emergency is.
down, so there's a.
Thank you for those comments and questions, appreciate it.
So can I ask, y'all wanna put portables? No, I don't.
You okay?
Okay.
Just wanna make sure that people
So
can hear.
if you keep talking that the road closure is gonna end up being permanent, but the portables are temporary, and if you're gonna put a permanent structure there, aren't you obligated to improve traffic around here, or parking, curbs?
Let me clarify, because we use the term temporary with portables, even though they ended up sticking around quite a long time, in a lot of cases. But portables are not what we consider a permanent part of our facility.
I don't think you're answering my question.
Okay, sorry.
What's the obligation of putting some, better parking? With all the, like I've asked before, with all the growth, you haven't added any parking. Those 55, parking across the road is for, Running Start. That doesn't help any of the problem that already exists. And I count about 30 parking spots they're taking away. And there's growth.
To answer your question, when does that occur? It occurs when we have a project that is going to increase the capacity of our school. And as we talked about, when we closed this last summer a 25,300 square foot building, library science building that had 9 classrooms in it, it had a full large library and other spaces. And what this portable project is trying to do is help mitigate some of those lost classroom spaces. We're not getting our full library, we're not getting other things, but we are able to mitigate some of it. But the net change is a decrease in capacity. Thus, that there's not a trigger.
The portables are okay, but closing a road is what brought us all, It's like,
Right.
oh, hey,
Yeah.
this is really gonna affect an already overcrowded neighborhood of students parking out here and racing all over the place.
Well, they do that at night.
Yes.
Brian, where?
I have a question back here and I'll come back on forward.
So my 2 questions may be city questions, I don't know. One is, what is the timeline to put the light out on 7th and Pioneer? I live on the corner there, and as you stated, that's a rated F, and it's horrible, and it's not even just a school thing, it is an all-the-time thing, and with the fair, and I can't even tell you how many times I call 911 from my house because there's been an accident out there, so that's the first question. The second is, are we having talks with Sound Transit about putting the ability to park staff in the Sound Transit? It's not at capacity during the day. I understand why they don't want students in there, I totally get that, but why can't staff park in there and then we open up more parking for students in what has been staff parking?
Thanks, Amy. So to your second point, I will share that that I did make a phone call to Sound Transit. I'd have to go back and find out the name of the person I talked to find out exactly that. We never got a response back, but I think it's worth pursuing further. I know that the city and Sound Transit have an agreement, and so maybe all working together we can pursue that further. What was the first piece?
The light outside.
Oh, so the light on 7th. So I can tell you that when we ran the bond in 2019, that did not pass, but included what we called at the time Phase 2 for Puyallup High School Master Plan, and it was going to increase the capacity of our campus, of our building, that we were going to include a signalized intersection at 7th and Pioneer. But it did not past, we did not move forward with that project until we pass that, a bond that adds capacity, not decreasing, not keeping level, but adds additional capacity to the school. That's gonna be the trigger for the school district. If that's still out of compliance, we'll be asked to take a look at that and address, to mitigate that issue. That doesn't mean that can't be done through other channels in the meantime, which is maybe your point as well, so appreciate the comment.
Oh, I probably missed it, Brian, but the science building, where is that at?
Right behind.
On this map?
On the map? So the library science building is back here, so it would be just east of us.
I'm sure you looked at it, but what was the feasibility to retrofit or repair?
So yeah, when we looked at the library science building, the building was built in 1962 and renovated in about 1986. The building's at its end of life. As Brian talked about, the Puyallup High School has been on the bond measure 5 times in the last 18 years, and it hasn't passed. So we're to a breaking point where we were going to put more money into the building than the building was worth. It wasn't going to address all the issues in the building. So there's seismic issues, there was sewer issues, there was plumbing issues inside the building from the science classrooms being on the second floor, aged elevator, the roof, there was mechanical HVAC issues. So at the time we thought we didn't have a levy passed. At the time we were in the process of trying to run the capital levy. We ran that twice in 2022 and thankful to everybody supporting us. In February of 2024 we got that passed. But we were looking at how we could spend money wisely going forward to gain us the space we needed, because we were having to displace kids out of that building. So what we landed on was putting portables in. It does a couple things for us. We did close the building. It's costing us less money to put portables in. The portables are temporary, but they'll last longer than that building was going to last. We know that in the master plans that have been drawn up here for this campus, that building is right where a new 3-story building would potentially be built. And so as we look at where we were to place portables, you're like, well, why are you guys putting portables over in that property you own? Well, we could look at alternatives, like putting them on the softball fields, putting them, trying to squeeze them in out back here and losing some of our loading dock space next to the building until we demo the building. But then they're in the way when we get to the first phase of the project, if we were to get a bond passed here at the school. So keeping them out of the way was part of the considerations that were made when we were looking at where to put them. The other thing to note is when we moved everybody out of that building, he alluded to there's 9 classrooms in there plus a huge library. So part of that was, what do we do with the books? The books got displaced and put to our other 2 high schools, and that's our library right here. It's 500 square feet. We started an inter-district loan program, book program for the kids. They can put a request in their computer, and now they have access to 3 library volumes worth of books, and they show up here the next day. We had to modify a classroom up on the 3rd floor for science and chemistry and create a chemical storage room. That's done and completed now to house that, because we lost some of our science classrooms. So getting these portables in is critical to us right now, because we had to increase our utilization rate in this building with our teachers so that we could keep the kids within this building without having those portables for the last year. So getting these portables is going to give everybody a little more breathing room in the building for us too. But what triggered a lot of this is putting the portables there, and we already know that we have 400 to 500 students. He said 6 periods a day. It's like 8 times a day the kids go across that road, that amount of kids. So that problem's already there today without us adding 6 more portable classrooms over there. So that's where some of the thought went into this and kind of where we're at right now. So to this community member's question, hopefully that helps answer your question about the portables and how we're going about this, and trying not to keep the kids safe as well as the community safe, and providing safe routes for everybody.
So I'm sure you looked at demoing was it the science building?
So we had all good intentions to demo the library science building this summer. It's associated with our conditional use permit that we're still talking about right now, as well as the permit for the portables. So we weren't able to demo that this summer. And so that work for the library science building is gonna be pushed to next summer, because we'll get our permit, and then we can't do that work in that building while students are here on campus, because we have to take things offline, shut power off to the building, rework the sewer lift station, pave, and do other work out here. So it's gonna impact this building, so we have to do it during the summer. And we have all good intentions to get the portables in as soon as we can, and get a permit. So hopefully by November or sooner, we'll have the portables hooked up and in place over there on our property. Yeah.
I would also just encourage both sessions go online, since there's been different content, and we had council members at the first meeting, and a lot of different issues probably raised. Brian, you said that you want to work, and this project can be modified as long as it meets the conditional use permit conditions. One of the conditions was street closure. Does the school district, school closure, the pilot study for the school closure, like I'm reading, the 8 or 9 conditions. So where is the district in, hearing this? What's the process? I mean, you don't have the conditional use permit. I mean, you've got the conditions that you have to meet. The portables won't be there. I think earlier today, you heard from a lot of residents and asking questions like, hey, what about, we tried these other things. And it became obvious when we had a conversation a couple of days ago that there were a lot of ideas that were back and forth with the city and the district about what might work, like traffic calming, what they do in different countries, like all sorts of different scenarios. And you settled on, let's close it and let's study it. And as I'd stated earlier, I went to the planning counter on Friday and I said, what's going to happen in this area is we have all of these students that are parking and dashing, and it's a safety issue. If we're really looking at the safety issue, and I know you've got to get the room for the students, it's a problem, and it's more of a holistic problem that we need to look at, like the cumulative impacts of what's going on with this, even though, Marnie noted that in SEPA, even if it's a level of service F and we're not adding more trips, that's not part of this. I get it, but from a perspective of the ultimate goal is to keep people safe, then we need to do a better job to make sure everyone's working together, and you work with the community, because we've got a lot of ideas, we see a lot of things that are happening, and we want to keep the kids safe out there. We want to keep ourselves safe. So can you explain a little bit about the discussions and some of the options that were looked at and how it settled on this and the ultimate timeline that is associated with the closure and what that looks like, and where points of flexibility might be in working with the community?
Good questions, thank you. And you may have to remind me of some of the points you just asked about, but in terms of what we're asking for input today is we have a condition. We're going to go through this pilot program, and Summit Street Northwest and West Main, shown in the red, is going to be closed under a pilot project. So that said, we're proposing some areas for pickup and drop off of students that may need some adjustments. Maybe there's some other areas, maybe there's some other frontages that need to be zoned a different way than it is currently. I think that there's an opportunity here to review, and we certainly want the community's feedback about what you think of this plan, because we want to be able to give the students and staff a heads up of what to expect and how the plan should work for the beginning of school. But that said, if we need to make changes next week, if the changes are merited in the mid-process, that's a collaborative effort that we'll have with the community and with the city. So that's the flexibility piece. Did you have a question?
Well, one of the questions was about you asked what was discussed and the timing of some of this stuff. So as we talk about getting your involvement with the community, so once again, I encourage you in the community to participate in our bond advisory committee planning. We do have master plans that we're updating, and we're in the process of putting together different scenarios that we're going to put in front of the bond advisory committee to review and look at, and we're going to be asking and pulling the community for input on. And it addresses, and it's going to affect this whole community, and you need to be part of that. And I'm saying that tonight because it's so important, because we have scenarios that flip-flop parking in some of the scenarios, moving the parking from the west side to the east side of the campus, and moving the athletic fields over where the staff parking's at, for example, in one scenario. So there's different schemes that have been put together. They're just rudimental sketches, nothing set in stone. We've been talking about the improvements like Brian talked about. I agree. It's the Pioneer thing was in the 2019 bond and the one prior to that that was out there to do that. So we want that input, and we know that we need to address a lot of things. And the challenge is going to be is how do we do this big project, and we also have 12 other projects that we need to address too throughout our whole community in Puyallup, through the 54 square miles that our district makes up.
So we have about 5 minutes left, and for those that maybe you have a question, but you didn't want to raise it during this conversation, our staff is going to stick around for a few minutes, and we can have a conversation, and you can happy to answer any questions or take any comments. Again, we have a comment card if you prefer to leave a comment that way, and we share it. And I like the idea of being able to post both of those, both of the events, because they have been a little bit different conversations. So I appreciate that. Anything else before we wrap up? All right, well, I want to thank you guys.
Oh, of course. Sorry. We've got 5 minutes.
So, Brian, there was a woman here in a sweater.
Oh, sorry.
I don't have any of this legal stuff down. I'm just a neighbor. I love the safety for the kids, but it's also a pretty big inconvenience for those of us that live in the neighborhood. Have we thought of possibly putting up gates that can be closed at 7 in the morning and opened at 3:30, so that it doesn't completely disrupt the traffic flow? And could they be open all summer long, over Christmas break, every weekend, where we can still use that? I know with the closure of 5th, we get a lot more traffic down 7, and I know that'll hopefully open sometime. But is there something like that where we can just have the gates that are closed when the students are here, but open for the rest of us that live here and use these roads often?
I love that idea.
Yeah, and that is one of the solutions that was discussed that we share over here. This question did come up in our first session, and Ken Davies, our City Puyallup Public Works Director, was able to address some of that. So you want to share?
Sure. Ken Davies, Public Works Director. So we looked at, both having it open and then permanent closure. We vetted it through our police department and, got their feedback, and everybody agreed that the safest route to go was a permanent closure or temporary. But with that, what we're looking for is uniform traffic control. And really it's because somebody that comes through during the daytime might return at nighttime, and it's, closed during the day, and then, it's open at night, and so, or vice versa, and then they end up thinking that they can just go right through. So really we're looking for the safest, option for a vehicle and avoid driver confusion.
Thanks.
So just to follow up on that?
Yeah.
We have the express lanes on I-5. They're open. Sometimes people aren't driving through the gate when they're closed. If we have the reflectors on there, people will see that it's closed. It's going to be closed pretty much during daylight hours, open during the dark hours when people might not see that gate. And people will learn. They'll learn that during school hours, this is not this is not a route. But in the evening, when we're running to the grocery store or we're running to who knows where out of our community, we'd be able to drive without being stopped. We've already lost second with or maybe third. What used to go through? Something used to go through before. Well, that's been a while ago. But with the new transit parking, we lost another street.
Your third.
Yes, so we're losing streets around here for us to get out, and so I know it would be manpower to go in and close and open the gates, but as far as safety, we would have that. As far as convenience, we're kind of losing a lot of that with this permanent temporary.
Hi, I just wanted to reinforce what she said. You already open and close the city park gates at night. People know when they're open and when they're closed. And people will learn to adapt, because I think it's really unreasonable to inhibit people's ability to get across the train tracks, grocery shopping, running errands in the evening, things of that nature, when the students won't even be in session. And, you know, I'd also like to know, did you look at signalized crosswalks and some other measures before just closing a street? And I guess my final point would be, when I go to the school board and I address my concerns with the school district about the things that are going on in the classroom, the response back to me is, children are adaptable, they'll get over it, they'll, you know, it's okay if there's 40 kids in a 6th grade classroom. They'll be okay. Well, if the children are adaptable, so are the drivers.
All right, well, thank you for those comments. I know that we'll be conferring with the city of Puyallup as we move forward. Again, we're gonna stick around for as long as is needed, reasonably, for any comments. So please go ahead and take advantage of any time that you want after the closure. But thank you for coming, and we will be in touch. Again, please leave your information if you want to allow us to have your contact information.